The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's. I warn you, they are considered thought crime in all jurisdictions and are inevitably going to be the victim of cancel culture. But in the meantime, between time, ladies and gentlemen, we're here every single Sunday. They are coming from the heart. They're guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to kick your ass. Get ready to choke on that collective truth cock, boys and girls. It's time for the Sunday sermon. Thanks for coming out. Apparently, we are on YouTube. Facebook has got me blocked. Everybody come in for the drum roll. Here it comes. Nice. All right. That's what I'm looking at right there. We got Emmy, we got Carrie, we got Joel and Joey on board right out of the starting gate. Ryan, brother Ryan, good to see you, brother. Glad you made it out. So, here we are once again. You guys might have caught from the coverage and stuff that we were putting up earlier. My boy Mo Baxter having to come through for me again. I got Facebook jailed. Oh, the fucking irony. And we're gonna get into how all that came about. I think you guys are gonna find that one really fucking entertaining. Of all the objectionable things, of all of the borderline hate speech comments that I've been accused of, the one they got me with and hung me for 30 days, you guys are gonna laugh, or maybe not. I didn't laugh too hard, but thank God I got my boy Mo Baxter out there holding it down. Everybody say hi to Mo. A lot of you guys are asking. We're going to get a live stream with Mo. One of these days, we are going to get a live stream with Mo. We're going to get him in that virtual studio here. I have my phone going for the live chat and the 55-inch TV for the video. Awesome. That's fucking outstanding, Emmy. I'm glad you're on board, hon. Glad you're on board. By the way, thanks for doing that little favor for me earlier this week. Sorry it didn't play out, but hey, man, we took a swing, man. Sometimes all we can do is run it up the flagpole and see if somebody fucking salutes, man. Yeah, so here we are. We're live again. Go ahead and start fading the music out here. Once again, as I'm always letting you guys know, for the people who are on for the first time or just haven't been around or whatever we got going on, the bumper music, Red Desert, little band from Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Sums it up, because every week I get older, and every week you guys get to decide if I'm any wiser. So that's where we're at. Right now, I think the jury is still out. I'm waiting for people to chime in on that. Preferably chime in on that online, man, because there are people right here in the house that I'm broadcasting from that would probably chime in on that in a not so flattering way. So anyway, here we are. Yes, remember to like and share. Since we're only on YouTube again now, remember to like and share so that it goes up in the search registers. And guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Reverend Bart YouTube channel. We're a work in progress. We're trying to, make it a little bit better every single week. We did have the dual stream going here and on the Reverend Bart Facebook page, and that lasted about as long as everybody expected it to. Once I came off my last 30-day ban, lasted exactly 2 weeks. A little bit of liquid enthusiasm, excuse me. Yeah. So I was on a thread, and we were discussing the jury or the choir. Yeah, who knows? I think I'm just preaching to the already converted, Joey. It fucking works out. So, yeah, we're on a thread, and we're talking about one of the bullet points that we're going to be getting to later in the sermon, which is the Stop Asian Hate thing. And I was going into some specifics, and I had a whole thread of things that could borderline be considered hate speech that were just like out there that other people I know have gotten banned for. And I was kind of waiting for the ban hammer to drop. And what they actually got me for was a quote. And again, we're on a thread about Asian hate. I'm responding to a comment from a black friend. And the comment that I made was that it dealt basically with some nut job, insane cracker shooting up a whorehouse. They didn't take an issue with the word whorehouse. They took an issue with the word cracker. I'll wait for that to sink in. Coming from me and all the stuff that I've ever said on any thread, I use the word cracker, and they banned me for 30 days for fucking hate speech. Yeah. So There's that, says the guy with the shaved head and questionable ink and Dave's Volt motherfuckers on the t-shirt. By the way, I brought this one back because that one was pretty popular. Plus, it shows off my man cleavage pretty well. I'm kind of digging that. So there's, when you're as old as I am, you take whatever hits you can get. So that's where we're at. So yeah, that's been the week. I'm going to have to open up a tab here because I made a promise. I made a promise to Ryan Jenkins that I would. In fact, Ryan, you could save me a lot of trouble by sending it directly to Mo's inbox, and he'll forward it to me exactly what you said on the thread. Because there was a thread that I posted on the. I think it was on my personal page not too long ago, dealing with everybody comment what kind of porn you think I watch. And I swore that I would give the winner with the best commentary. I swore that I would give them a mention. So while I'm going through stuff, I'm gonna have to scroll through and find that again. That was the one production tab that I did not open up. So Ryan, if you're out there, you could definitely save me a lot of trouble by just sending it to Mo Baxter's inbox. Because clearly you were the winner. You and David Johnson were the two front runners, and I think you nailed it. So I'm going to give you guys a mention. And again, I'm scrolling through. We got a lot to cover this week, boys and girls. It's been an interesting week in the news. You guys read the description. We're going to be covering guns. We're going to be covering Asians, and we're going to be covering what we should embrace culturally, and it's not what you think. Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on while I'm scrolling through this tab, trying to get back to the actual post. And I'm sorry, I'm feeling woefully unprepared coming on right now. So again, we are back just on the YouTube channel. However, the good news is you guys will be able to share the YouTube broadcast to your own individual Facebook pages. And again, what you can do to bump up the amount of exposure this thing gets is to actually share the video to your own Facebook pages and go ahead and tag the Reverend Bart fan page in it. And we can blow this thing up just a little bit bigger. It's going to take me probably too long to scroll through this production screen. So Ryan, send it to Mo Baxter's inbox. And if it doesn't hit for whatever reason, we will definitely get to it next week. Again, oversight on my part. Waiting to the last minute, a lot of stuff going on. So news items that we want to get into. This from military.com. One of the number one enlisted personnel in the United States Army, Chief Master Sergeant Ramon CZ Colon Lopez. He is the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he did a briefing 3 days ago. Yes, 3 days ago on March the 8th. Now, a lot of people, particularly the Black Pill contingent, are getting very, very upset because they think that we're just inevitably doomed, that they're going to pass the gun control bills and they're going to sick the troops on us and all kinds of stuff for the all kinds of, that it's we're all doomed. They're coming for us. There's nothing we can do to resist, blah, blah, blah. And again, we don't do black pills here. We do not do black pills here. We stay focused on the positive, and we stay focused on the things that we can change. Some stuff, hey man, it's going to be out of our fucking hands. But here's some good news coming down the pike, and you can share this with all your black pill friends, thinking that we're doomed and that the cleansing has begun and that we're going to be on the raw end of it. What they found was that what they describe as a disturbing number of troops have drawn equivalency between the January 6th insurrection at the United States Capitol and last year's protests, red riots all over the country for Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Basically, the soldiers, and I've said this to you guys before, and it's nice to be borne out by the words of the senior enlisted advisor to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I've said this to you guys before. Historically, when it breaks down, and we got to see this not so very long ago with the Arab Spring, and other events that are going on in like Eastern Europe, just a little bit further behind that. When it breaks down, historically speaking, law enforcement, no insult or disparagement intended for any of my LEO brethren that are out there, James, if you're there, or Nancy, or any of the people that are out there that work for law enforcement. This is not to disparage you as individuals, but historically, the way that it breaks down is that law enforcement, the cops, side with the power structure and the government that is in power. The military, on the other hand, sides with the people. We got to see this play out when Yeltsin was about to be deposed. For any of my Russia, if Sonny's on board or any of my other Russian friends are on board and would like to jump in and comment on that. But look what happened with Yeltsin. He had Russian civilians on the front steps of the Kremlin, and he gave soldiers the order to fire, and the soldiers almost universally refused those orders. They were not going to fire on their own countrymen. I realize that is complicated by the fact that we are essentially a multi-ethnic melting pot, and that we do not have the level of national or ethnic solidarity that other countries do. But I'm giving you the historical breakdown. And again, as the senior enlisted advisor to the Joint Chiefs of Staff bore out, is that while the military remains an apolitical organization, they talk to them about their feelings on this stuff. And the soldiers basically, unlike the United States media that has used it as a cudgel over our heads, they did not see any difference between the riots and, the violent actions that were done, the statues being torn down, the federal courthouses being attacked, set on fire with people in it. That's intent to murder. I don't give a fuck who you are. You set a building, you block the exits to a building, you set it on fire, knowing that that building is occupied. That is attempted murder by any stretch of the imagination. So you can crumple your tinfoil hat full of mostly peaceful protests into a nice little tinfoil ball and stuff it right up your sanctimonious little tuchus, my friend. That's where we're at on that front. The soldiers are looking at that, and they're drawing exact parallels. If you're going to treat one as a quote-unquote insurrection, you can't look at the other, which caused billions more in damage just for the fact that it wasn't at a federal government building of such a high profile, and treat that like it's not an insurrection. The soldiers aren't buying it. And God help them if they think that the same soldiers that they're failing to feed while they're guarding the Capitol are going to suddenly turn and fire on their own countrymen when given that order. A lot of people have said that, and we're about to get into some gun stuff, so I figure that's a decent enough segue. A lot of people, and this is, again, of all the arguments against gun control, this has got to be, if it's not the dumbest, it's certainly in the top three, is that all of us who hold that the Second Amendment is in place, should the unfortunate eventuality ever come around that we have to resist a tyrannical government, that we are all fools because in the final analysis, there is nothing that we can do there is nothing that we can do to resist the federal government. There's nothing that we can do as civilians with small arms to resist what is generally considered to be the most powerful military machine on the planet. I would point out, first of all, that is exactly how this nation came into being, was a bunch of ragtag farmers with small arms liberating themselves from what was, at the time, the most powerful military machine on the planet. But if they're going to suggest that a civilian population with small arms cannot resist the full might and weight of the United States military, I'm going to laugh at you in two different languages. One would be whatever they speak in fucking Afghanistan, and the other would be Vietnamese. A lot of people would say, yeah, Bart, but that's different. Yes, it certainly is different. Over here, we have more guns per person, per capita, rather, We have more small arms ownership per capita here than they do in either Vietnam or Afghanistan. And the second point that I would like to make is that in Vietnam and Afghanistan, there wasn't the very realistic prospect of half the fucking army jumping ship and joining the goddamn insurgency. Because I promise you, should they try to make such an egregious overreach in this day and age, you're going to lose half the fucking military. Half the fucking military is going to flip two big middle fingers at Uncle Joe, and they're going to walk. And they're going to take their training and their arms and everything that they have, their supplies, their knowledge, they're taking all of that with them. And they're joining the fucking insurgency. So if we're going to discuss such a thing in terms of insurgency, counterinsurgency, if we're going to discuss such a thing in terms of insurrectionists, then at least let's paint a complete picture. But again, just to touch on that very, very quickly with regard to some of the laws that are coming down the pike. Now, the laws that are coming, the laws that are coming through right now, ones that you need to watch. House Resolution 8, the Bipartisan Background Checks Act. And they are supplementing that with HR 1446, which is the Enhanced Background Checks Act. Now, you'll notice that they're not talking a lot about the one that we need to keep an eye on. Two reasons they're not talking about it. One, they want to slide it in under the radar. And two, this bill hasn't made it out of committee yet. I'm talking about House of Representatives Resolution 127, the Firearms Licensing and Registration Act. Now, hidden in that one, we have a National Registry of Firearms. We have a permitting process. We have insurance requirements. We have bans on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Again, using their language, I can already see a couple of you out there that are like, dude, we're talking about standard capacity magazines and military-grade sporting rifles. Yeah, I get it. I'm with you. Just using their language for purposes to communicate here. But yeah, the ones that got voted on last week, both involved advancing background checks. The Bipartisan Background Checks Act, just run-of-the-mill, basically reinforcing what is already in place. The one to watch for is 1446, which is the Enhanced Background Checks Act. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, having run afoul of a hiccup in the background check system a couple of years ago, which finally ended 1 year ago. It was one of my earliest sermons. I discussed that, what a nightmare it was trying to navigate the federal bureaucracy. I was deprived of my gun rights for the better part of 2 years, all because of a hiccup and a technicality in Washington law over a Class A misdemeanor offense that I had committed in Texas 26 years earlier. That was basically eventually got dismissed with deferred adjudication. But it was enough to hang it up to where for 2 years, not only could I not buy or sell firearms, even though I had no felonies, no domestics, right? Was not disqualified by any other means because of a technicality in Washington state law. I not only could not buy or sell firearms for almost 2 years, I couldn't pull the guns that I had out of the pawn shop. Bart, what are your guns doing in the pawn shop? All I'm going to say is ugly divorce. And I'll add to that why are divorces so fucking expensive? Because they're worth it. Anyway, this is the kind of shit that I had to navigate. So when they're saying, oh, we just want to bump up the background checks a little bit. Well, what they're wanting to do with this bill is essentially you're giving the federal government the power to stretch out the background check system a little bit longer. Now, there's in theory and in practice and in doctrine, okay? In doctrine and in theory, what they're saying is that right now, if they can't find a reason to deny you the purchase within 3 to 5 working days, they have to give you the gun. What they're trying to do with this extended background checks thing is to stretch it out to 10 working days before they give you the gun. The devil, as always, is in the details. What they intend to do with that is they're going to stretch it out to 10 days, at which point they can say, hey, we didn't find anything, but we're digging a little deeper, and stretch it out for another 10 days to where there's virtually no end to it. Go in and read the text of the bill. Under the Brady Act and under the NICS system and that 3 to 5 day thing, it's 3 to 5 days from the time you initiate. So let's say you go in, I want to buy a gun. Okay, well, you're delayed. The 5 days go by and nothing comes back. And then they stretch it out to 10, but now you're past the limit of the original 3 to 5. So you have to file another NICS check again, and the whole cycle repeats itself. And if you think for a minute that this won't happen in practice, again, 2 years over a technicality in a law, I completely lost my gun rights with no felonies and no domestics. No other offenses that would preclude me buying a gun. On 38 out of 50 running. Okay, we'll post that up. Let me just pop that up from Emmy. Emmy's a long-time friend of mine, and she's very familiar with it because she's been in the business for a long time. NICS checks are good for 30 days. Okay, cool. So we got workarounds. You know what, Emmy? I tell you what, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. If you would, I want you to go read the text of 1446 and some of the press on it, and you get back to me and let me know. Let me know what your take is on it, because I'd love to have some background from somebody who's actually involved in the business, as opposed to just a knucklehead who became a victim of a federal fuck up. So yeah, Emmy, if you could, that would be out fucking standing. So again, 47 and 1446 coming down the pike, but the good news is that isn't the big one. The big one, okay, the big one is 127. Boom. I'll click on that tab there. Yes. So the big one coming down the pike is going to be 127. You need to keep an eye on that. Because that one's the scary one. That one creates a national registry, requires federal licensing, for which you will pay and for which you will be subjected to. And if, say, for instance, you say, hey, I've got these 12 guns and I need to register and get that license, and they find some obscure reason to deny you, guess what? You just admitted to them that you have 14 guns that they are not going to allow you to have, and they can come and confiscate your weapons. No one's coming to confiscate your weapons, dude. Right. Okay, cool. Until they come to confiscate your weapons, at which point you go, yeah, man, it's about time somebody took those guns away from you fucking crazies. Look, man, the only reason it hasn't gotten any further, if I'm training for a fight, right? If I train my ass off for a fight and I jump into the ring with a guy that is much bigger and more skilled than me, and I lose that fight, right? There's a big difference between that and never having gotten into the ring at all. This would be the parallel that I'm going to draw with regard to the gun confiscation thing. They have outright spoken. There is no serious person who isn't being completely fucking disingenuous, red liar, who will look at the commentary that's been made by the gun grabber crowd and say for 2 seconds, with any sort of seriousness, that they don't have a full intention of confiscating your guns. They've outright said that they do. If it wasn't for Beto, it was Feinstein. If it wasn't Feinstein, it was Schumer. They've all made comments to that effect. They fully intend to take everything. And yet, every time a bill comes down the pike, we get treated to the same disingenuous bullshit. Oh, nobody's going to come for your guns. Nobody's looking to come for your guns. Come on, man. Stop. Just fucking stop. I would much rather have a serious discussion with people with whom I vehemently disagree. At least it's coming from a place of honesty. If we're talking in terms of, look, you're coming for my guns. I get it. I'm not going to give them to you, and I hope you get that. I would just rather have an honest discussion. I just don't dig this disingenuous fucking word game bullshit. But HR 127, that's the scary one. Not only a national registry, insurance requirements, $800 a year. purchased directly from the federal government. And if you don't see what's going to happen there, $800 a year. Well, gun violence didn't go down, so now we're going to have to jack the insurance up to $1,000 a year, and eventually it's going to become $1,500 a year, and it's going to become so cost prohibitive to own a gun that the only people that will be able to own one will be those that are politically connected or exceedingly wealthy. Wow, it's almost by design. If I didn't know better, yeah. So there's that. Anyway, 127 is the bill to watch, and currently it has not gotten out of committee. Why has it not gotten out of committee? Well, we can look over at BuzzFeed because, and this is something that they won't admit in polite company, but what the gun grabber crowd is finding out is that they're not going to be able to sell this. We still have enough seats in the Senate that we can control things by filibuster. And there are Democrats in the House that live in districts that, while they may have voted Democrat, are gun-owning districts, largely gun-owning districts. They're going to hang on to their political careers if it's the choice between one or the other. They don't have enough to push through the more radical elements again. Now, again, I could be wrong. There are more than enough people out there, and I can already hear you. It's like, but hey, Bart, don't sell them short. And look, I'm not saying don't keep the pressure on. I'm not saying don't call your representatives. I'm not saying don't be ready to fucking knuckle up. What I am saying is I think in the current incarnation, they're not going to be able to get the most radical elements of their gun control agenda through. They may be able to get through the background check thing. They may be able to get through the extended background check, meaning you might have to wait up to 10 days, and they may have all sorts of hoops that you have to go through, which is still a shitty situation. But if you really, really braced me and said, look, we can take the background check thing now and not get the rest of it through, and then the GOP takes back both houses in the midterms, and we don't have to worry about this for a while. If that's the option that I'm being given, I'm going to fucking take it. And I would recommend that any sensible human being do the same thing. We may not have a choice on this one. But the good news, again, I'm not going to get, we can't get into this moral puritanism as regards these fucking issues. We got to take the victories where we can get them. We got to hang on to every bit of ground we can take. And if that means that we stonewall and get through to the midterms, well, there we are. G-Dub, glad you made it, buddy. And by the way, anybody else that I missed, I'm sorry. I jumped right into it and didn't give the shout outs to everybody, but I see Wayne. Wayne jumped on board. We got Hazelwood on board, Ariella, Aaron. Anybody that I missed giving a shout out to, hey man, thanks for coming out, guys. I appreciate it. Also, if anybody's out there, it's telling me here that it couldn't feed through to Facebook, so I'm going to assume that it didn't. But maybe if somebody bounced over here and was looking on Facebook, didn't find it, and went over to the YouTube channel, let me know just to confirm, because again, I'm still trying to work this stuff out. By the way, I don't know if you saw the little thing over here in the corner, the belt-fed hippie slayer thing. I'm playing around with logo boxes on this StreamYard shit. I'm still figuring it out. I'm old, man. I'm just an old guy ranting at a fucking webcam. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this tech stuff. But you guys keep coming out, and I appreciate it. So anyway, why do I not think the more radical? Because even BuzzFeed, you can find that BuzzFeed article. That BuzzFeed article is basically telling mainstream Democrats, it's like, look, y'all need to back off, because they have acknowledged the reality of it. They don't have the numbers. Just like after Sandy Hook, I thought, my God, after Sandy Hook, they're gonna do something. Certainly, they've got to do something. Nope, because they did not have the numbers. I lost my faith for a moment. I thought, my God, they're going to be able to get something through. What the fuck are we going to do now? And boom, nothing happened because they didn't have the numbers. Again, watch for the midterms. They're going to try to get those numbers by hook or by crook. They're going to try to get those numbers, but right now they don't have it. So the worst of this stuff is not going to pass, and even BuzzFeed acknowledged it. So there's that. Next segue would be going from gun issues to, well, what happened in Atlanta this week? For those of you who haven't been hiding under a rock or steadily sleeping in your car or a gym for the last fucking week, well, Here's what happened in Atlanta. Short version: crazy sex addict Caucasian goes nuts for the brothel. Crazy sex addict Caucasian walks into an Asian brothel, shoots the fucking place up. This is a nut job problem. It is not a Caucasian problem, and it's certainly not an Asian hate problem. But predictably, because it was a white guy and because he used a gun, I imagine it would be worse had he used an assault weapon. We'd still be hearing about that. And arguably, had he used an assault weapon, the whole thing about it being anti-Asian violence might have gotten buried. But thank you for small victories. He only had a handgun. Still managed to knock off 6 people, 4 of whom were Asian, right? Yes. Am I quoting this right? Yes. So the victims, it was either 4 out of 6 or 6 out of 8 were Asian. There we go. A series of mass shootings that occurred at 3 spas and massage parlors in the metropolitan area. Yes, it was 8 people that were killed, 6 of whom were Asian women. Now, I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here and say that the reason why so many Asian women were killed was because, stay with me on this because it may be a bit of a stretch. These were Asian rub and tug brothels that the guy was visiting, and therefore most of the employees in question are going to be, wait for it, again, open your brain really, really big now, Asian. I know, crazy, isn't it? Yeah, married to an Asian, don't know what the fuck they're talking about with Asian hatred. My wife and other Asians hate each other more than anybody. Fucking G-Dub chiming in. Cajun Queen Carolyn Picard, glad you made it, honey. We're just getting ready to get into the meat of some of this stuff. Yeah, there's a lot about Asian hate, and we're gonna keep hearing about it, because that's the narrative. Even though the director of the FBI from Joe Biden's own Justice Department this week came out and said, wait for it, we have no fucking indication that it was a racially motivated hate crime. Nothing. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Once again, we're back to we're back to I'm switching the logo out again just to keep you guys' attention. Once again, we're right back to how the fuck can you guys continue to press it? We don't care what our own FBI director says. This is our narrative, and we're fucking sticking to it. I got to give them credit for tenacity. They got the tenacity of a fucking hungry pit bull, man. They got their teeth into that fucking narrative, and they just will not let go of it. Rise in Asian hate crimes, rise in anti-Asian hate crimes over and over and over again. Bang, 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 just beating you in the fucking face with it. Here's the part that they're not mentioning. The disproportionate amount, the way disproportionate amount of those anti-Asian hate crimes are being committed by, drum roll please, wait for it, somebody want to chime in? Anybody? Right, there you go, the great unmentionable. We cannot talk about that. Because hashtag hate facts. Right. It's hate. For those of you that don't understand hashtag hate facts, a hate fact is one of those things that is clearly, demonstrably, and irrefutably true. However, you're not allowed to mention it because it paints a specific demographic in a very bad light. Yeah, that's right. Shall we go over some of these? All of this anti-Asian hate. Like the 84-year-old Asian man in San Francisco that was beaten to fucking death in broad fucking daylight. And the San Francisco DA, a white guy, referred to it as a temper tantrum. Now, the DA was a white guy. Anybody want to play guess the ethnicity of the offender? Anybody want to play? That's right, boys and girls, the great unmentionable. So unmentionable, in fact, that I'm not going to take the risk of this video being yanked off of YouTube by mentioning it. But we all know, don't we? Right. And we can generally ascertain that by the fact that they don't mention the race of the attacker in these attacks. That's how you know. The minute you have a high-profile attack like this, where somebody is beaten to death in broad fucking daylight, and they just casually don't mention the race of the offender, it's a pretty safe bet. Like the elderly white guy up in New York this week that got where two youth broke into his house and set him on fucking fire. Didn't mention the race of the attackers there either. Attacks against elderly, attacks against Asians, but we're not going to mention the race of the attacker until it's a white guy that blows his cork. And then we're going to make it out that it has to be a racial thing and not the fact that he's a sex addict that shot up a whorehouse. Here's some things that we should be taking into account. It's common knowledge that these Asian quote-unquote massage parlors are hubs of fucking human trafficking and prostitution. And now, because they're pushing so hard on this fucking narrative, the tragic irony of the thing is that these 6 Asian women died, and they're no doubt traffickers now have a GoFundMe set up where good little white liberals are going and donating money to their cause. How fucking sick is that? Yeah, so that was in San Francisco. What else we got? Oh yeah, here's one from the San Francisco Examiner. Restorative justice is exactly what's needed in the case of an attack on a Bayview elder. Now, this was a violent attack on another elderly Asian man by, wait for it, you guessed it. And the district attorney recommended that he be dismissed without charges for the sake of restorative justice. Yeah, there's a lot of anti-Asian hate out there. And much like GW, I'm not that connected to the community. But if Bone is on board or any of my Lao friends are on board, they can tell you that this right here is not a fucking kanji symbol that they just give out to any fucking suburban white guy. I've spent a lot of time around Southeast Asians, particularly Thai and Lao. No one outside of the Asian community is more pissed off at the rise and uptick in anti-Asian violence than folks like myself and folks like G-Dub that have intimate ties to that fucking community, that are pissed the fuck off that for nearly a decade now, this kind of fucking shit has been going on. And we have tried time after time to point it out, but we're not allowed to discuss it. Why? Because of the great unmentionable. The discrimination that is taking place, again, fostered by the same white liberals that are coming down on this Atlanta shooter. The discrimination in college admissions coming down on the Asian community, setting a higher bar for them than anyone else. And yes, it is effectively denying a lot of high-performing Asians college admissions that otherwise would have been at the top of their fucking class. But we don't get to talk about that either. Structural and systemic racism. Let's talk about that college admissions thing. Structural and systemic racism. Let's talk about law enforcement looking the other way while Asians are raped, beaten, murdered by the great unmentionable. Can't talk about that. Not until a psycho cracker, sex addict, blows his top and shoots up an Asian whorehouse. Now we can fucking talk about it. Oh, okay. Appreciate the narrative there, Sparky. Here's the thing about Asians. They don't bitch. They just fucking win. They just fucking win. You want to talk about an ideal group of people, an ideal fucking demographic. You want to lament me about, you want to lament white privilege to me? Asians exceed, far and away exceed white people of European descent in the United States of America by every standard of measure. I'm over here cheering them on. God damn it. They are the epitome of what it is to come from a place and be fucking successful. To come from, you want to talk about coming from fucking hard times. Particularly Southeast Asians. Coming from places like Vietnam, where our little involvement sort of upset the balance over there. Coming from places like Laos. Go read about the actions of the Pathet Lao. Go read about the communist insurgency in fucking Laos. Go read about that and some of the horrors that, and once you brace yourself with that little appetizer, why don't we take a look next door in Cambodia and look at Pol Pot? You want to talk about coming from fucking traumatic circumstances? Those motherfuckers got to see death every fucking day. Horrible fucking murders and atrocities carried out. And that was part of their day-to-day life. Some of them when they were still fucking kids. And they made their way to America on rickety-ass boats. And inside of 2 generations have met and exceeded every fucking standard of white America. All of them. Better scholastic performance, higher IQs, more money, better family cohesion, lower violent criminality, lower property crime, any standard of measure. The Asians don't bitch. They just fucking win. But now, white liberal America wants to fold them in to the oppressed minority status. And I got a little word for you, boys and girls. Of all the demographics that you could have tried to pull in to this horse shit, the Asians aren't buying it. Not for a goddamn second. Why? Because they're not going to bitch. They're just going to win. They tried bitching when the great unmentionable was slamming them. They tried bitching about the college admissions thing. Instead, they just work around it. They just keep fucking winning. And good on them. Good on them. There are 3 narratives that can and should be single-handedly destroyed by one word, and that word is Asian. That one word can, should, and does destroy the white privilege narrative, the white oppression narrative, and more to the point, the white supremacy narrative. 3 narratives that never should have gotten traction in the first fucking place, single-handedly destroyed by one fucking word, Asian. I don't want to tear them down. You want to say stop Asian hate, you're going to find no stronger ally on that stop Asian hate tip. You're not going to find one. You're not going to find one stronger than what's right staring you in the fucking face right here. I'll line up and protect any goddamn one of them. I'll protect their families. I'll protect their businesses. I'll protect their lives individually. Not just because of how good Asians have been to me in the course of my life. And maybe one day on the sermon, I'll get into that story of the Von Sambat brothers and how they took me in and treated me like family When I first came out of the hills in North Carolina and dropped in the fourth largest city in the United States and didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. You won't find a stronger ally in terms of stop Asian hate than what's staring you right in the face right now. I'll line up and I'll fucking knuckle up right beside any goddamn one of them. Because they are the epitome of what it is to be American, to be immigrant, and to be successful. They are every goddamn thing that Americans should fucking aspire to. But don't sit there and look me in the face talking about stop Asian hate unless you're ready to look at places like San Francisco. Unless you're ready to look at places like Oakland. Unless you're ready to look at places like Los Angeles and take a real look at what the statistics will show you about where the Asian hate is coming from. If you won't pony up and look that in the face and you're just trying to make us and the Asians your little political pawns, it's not going to work out for you, Sparky. It's not. They're too fucking smart to fall into that victim mentality. Culturally, they are not going to learn to be good little victims, which is what you need. You people who are pushing this nonsense. The same people that make it more difficult for Asians to get into these Ivy League universities are the people pushing this goddamn narrative. You think the Asians are dumb enough to fucking fall for that? Once again, man, vaya con Dios, motherfucker. I wish you luck. Not gonna happen. I'm just one guy. What the fuck do I know, right? I can tell you what I know about the bullshit narrative. Hey, you guys remember where? You guys remember back in 1992 in Los Angeles, where the Korean community was besieged by mobs of white supremacists that were setting Koreatown on fire and busting into their stores and stuff, and the Koreans had to get up on the rooftops with automatic weapons to protect themselves from fucking rampaging white supremacists. Remember when that happened? Yeah, me neither. Remember last summer when those same rooftop Koreans had to get back up on top of their stores again because of rampaging mobs of White Lives Matter activists and black masked black masked white guys. Oh yeah, it was black masked white guys. Wasn't exactly white supremacists though, was it? Well, white supremacist organizations do have a history of, anti-Asian sentiment and propaganda. Oh, really, Sparky? I didn't realize we were having this conversation in the fucking 1800s. I'm going to tell you something that y'all don't know. Actually, okay, one or two you might know. But even the Stormfront crowd, the hardcore stiff-arm salute boys, have a grudging respect for Asians. For all the reasons that I listed above, their tenacity, their work ethic, their family cohesion, their willingness to look tough times and tough circumstances in the face and go charging ahead and do whatever it takes to win for their family, for their kin, and for their nation. The Stormfront crowd envies that and respects that in Asians because it's something that white Europeans had once upon a time and seem to have fucking forgotten. Ooh. There's a little historical nuance that's going to make people uncomfortable to discuss. I fucking love the Asians. I fucking love them. They epitomize every goddamn thing that we should aspire to. Culturally, nationally, and yes, racially. We really want to push it to that level and have that uncomfortable discussion. They epitomize everything that is right and good in human beings as a fucking species. So bet your ass I'm on board for Stop Asian Hate. But if we're going to have that fucking discussion, we're going to have the fucking discussion. Why are they so fucking tough? Particularly the Southeast Asians. Why are they so fucking tough? Why? Because they came from adversity. Talk to a Cambodian that as a child got to witness the horrors of Pol Pot and the killing fields. Talk to a Laotian who witnessed the communist insurgency in Laos, the actions of the Pathet Lao. Talk to any of the Vietnamese that had to flee South Vietnam because our involvement wound up being too fucked up to resolve and wound up in a communist takeover of that entire fucking peninsula. All of it. All of it. Talk to them about the shit that they saw, the shit that they had to endure just to get here. Just to be here. And how blessed they fucking felt to be given an opportunity to do what they knew that they were capable of. And the hardships that they fucking endured. Guys from Houston, read the stories about Mama La. Family that runs Kim Son. Or any of those old school first generation Asian families in Houston. Packing a family of 12 people into a 1-bedroom apartment, everybody working, everybody, and pulling their money together just so they could open a small business. And they have succeeded and they have prospered and they have excelled because of the adverse circumstances from which they came. Not in spite of them, because of them. Because when you come from circumstances that fucking adverse, and you are handed the glorious opportunities of a Western industrialized nation with a representative government and a capitalist economy that basically just got the fuck out of the way and let you prosper. How blessed do they fucking feel? That, my friends, is why they exceed white Americans of European descent by every fucking measure. Because coming from those adverse circumstances, they can appreciate the blessings that are a part of being an American on a level that spoiled, soft, comfortable white America has long since forgotten because they're too busy griping about what they don't fucking have. And that metaphor, under the best set of circumstances, can be fairly fucking transcendent. If you come from comfort, you don't appreciate the blessings that you fucking have. If you have not been exposed to how ugly and violent And what's the old proverb? Nasty, brutish, and short life can be. You don't appreciate the pampered, soft-ass comfort in which you live. So, I stand with the Asians. I stand against Asian hate in all its forms. But beyond standing with the Asians, I stand inspired by the Asians. If you want to embrace a value that has shaped such a magnificent race of people, and you want to apply those lessons to your own life, maybe while we're out there embracing diversity, we need to take it upon ourselves, if we really want to learn the lessons they have to teach us, to embrace a little bit of adversity. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Appreciate you guys being here. We are butting up against time constraints. Anybody that I failed to acknowledge over here in the comments, hey man, I love y'all. I appreciate you being here. Share these stories with each other. Share the video. If it did anything for you, share it on your own Facebook page. Be sure to like and give proper credit and everything. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors before I get out of here, to Roman and Allie and Roxy and all the fine people over at opiumtales.com. You can check them out on the website, opiumtales.com. And to my good friends, Casey and Dustin Tellison, my Viking brothers from Nordic Smoke Barbecue, only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. You can say that there is other barbecue in the Inland Northwest, but in the words of Conan's first trainer, you would be wrong. Tom Dinklage, that one was just for you, my friend. Anyway, appreciate you guys being here. If you dig what I had to say and any of this stuff helped you out in any fucking way, feel free to send me some hate mail. If it didn't work out for you, feel free to send me a letter of approval or a personal message to let me know how it did work out for you, how I can improve the program, whether I should go fuck myself, and if so, how. Whatever. I'll accept anything. And if it did you some good, you want to throw me some coin, I'll pass around a digital collection plate. I'm on PayPal, I'm on Venmo, I'm on Cash App, I'm on all the good stuff. But as always, what I'll really encourage you to do, if you want to help out and you want to make the world a better place, first of all, what we need to do is get out there and spread that gospel a little bit. Tell your friends about it, repost the video, but first of all, on a personal level, yes, I'm looking at you, motherfucker, strive every day to be the signal, not the noise. Be the light in the darkness and be that strength. Boom. In a world full of weakness. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Appreciate y'all being here, man. Thanks. Caroline, Joel, Emmy, G-Dub, Mr. Right. That's Mr. Right to you, sir. We got Joey on board. Everybody that came out. Brother Ryan, Adam Jenkins. Can't thank you enough, man. You're the guy that set me on the journey. Not really even just for the crane thing, but, man, you've really had more of an effect on this program than you even realize. So I appreciate you, Ryan, and I love you. Wayne, Jimmy Hazelwood, Carrie, Roman, all you cats and kittens, to all my Reverends Rangers, to all my prophets of doom, to all my sinner sisters out there, appreciate you being here, man. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And I meant what I said about that adversity. Make life a little hard for yourself. If you don't have any real circumstance holding you down, find a way to get some adversity in your life, man. Put yourself under some heavy iron. Get a workout regimen going. Get into a martial arts class and learn to make yourself a little bit harder to kill. If you got a gun you spent too much fucking money on, get out there and train with it. Do something to challenge those instincts, to get outside your comfort zone and evolve. Make yourself a little bit stronger. Going out with a little clutch, as always. Appreciate you guys being here. I'm the Reverend. That is the gospel. We'll see you next Sunday. Peace.